Hey everyone, how are you? John here, and welcome to Facebook Live with the Deers Embroidery Legacy. I'm so glad you could join us today. And I just want to find out where you guys are all checking in from. So if you want to type in the comments, tell us where you're checking in from. My beautiful wife, Jennifer, is here as always, but I know she has to step out momentarily. You want to say hi, Jen?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, and I tried to talk her into coming on camera again, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
It does not.
So anyways, but we can keep hoping. So give me some hearts or something if you'd like to see Jennifer come on, line more and all that good stuff. Maybe peer pressure will kick in eventually. We'll see. Is there any hearts coming up, Jennifer? Do you know? Okay. She's not going to tell me if there is, but I will be watching the replay. And if you are watching the replay, welcome. Let us know, where you're watching or coming in or checking in from as well. I hope that everybody is safe and that you guys are just having a good time and that you're happy to be here. So everything good? Okay, awesome. So we are going to talk about a couple things. Number one, our Patches Made Easy webinar. So I just have to switch over cameras and everything. So bear with me for a second, guys. And we'll see if we can do this, if I can get it all sorted out. And yay, okay. Technology is getting better with me, but you know that I talk my way through this stuff if you've ever joined us for any of our webinars. And how about this? If you've joined us for any of our webinars, our parties, our workshops, give us some thumbs up and some hearts. It's been a crazy busy year for us. It's hard to believe that it's actually December the 10th. So I am just amazed at how time is flying. Now, the next thing I want to do is close this screen and see if I can. Yay, okay. And I wanted to bring up my PowerPoint. We'll see if this works for me as well. And I should have hopefully a little slideshow coming up, and I do. So, okay, I am talking to a mic over here now off to my side. My lapel obviously is not working. But I did want to actually let you guys know that our Patches Made Easy webinar was just announced last week. And we actually have pretty much sold it out. As of this morning, we had just over 100 seats available. And as of now, last I heard, we have about 74 seats available. So odds are this one's going to sell out pretty quickly, which tells me that patches and emblems are obviously a hot topic. Now, I'm going to have to quicken my speech now because most of what I was saying has now already been said once. But I'm going to switch slides here, and you guys will probably see this one. It'll be a little bit familiar because you would have seen it and heard me not talking just a while ago. But that picture is actually a picture of my grandfather. His name is Romeo, and my grandmother is actually Irene. They started our business in 1958. The young lady there, she is actually my Aunt Sabina. And I dated this probably to about 1974 or 1973, maybe. And the reason why I dated it is because I know my aunt in that picture was about 13 or 14 years old. And unfortunately, she did pass away from Hodgkin's disease when she was 17, which was very traumatic for my family, my grandparents especially. But embroidery and patches have been part of our legacy from the very beginning. My grandparents actually started our business in '58. My grandmother and my great-grandmother worked in the production line when I was a kid. So I am fourth generation, if you've never met me before. We actually did make emblems from the 60s, like the late 50s to 60s, all the way through to the early 90s. And I think the heyday of emblems was probably about the early to mid 80s, right before the multi-head machines basically became popular, and they replaced the Shifley machines, which were originally making the emblems. Now, my grandfather there is standing actually at a trade show, and he's selling patches. So we actually have been selling patches for our entire existence. And I kind of have said in the little sales video that this is kind of like coming home for us. This is actually going right back to our roots and doing what we started out with. Now, here, I'm just going to switch the slide. Everybody still hearing me okay? I did ask that everybody tell us where you're from, by the way. That was the worst Facebook Live start off we ever did. And I did ask Jennifer to say hello as well, but now you're not going to hear her because her mic's not working either. So actually, let's try this again, Jennifer. No, it won't work now. Okay, so anyways, we have been doing emblems for a while. And then we ended up going from the Shifley industry into the multi-head industry. And I'm just going to make this slide a little bigger as well, just so you can see it. The first picture on your left-hand side is actually a Shifley machine. And we had 5 of these machines. They were 10 yards long. You would span up 10 yards of material, and it actually was run on a loom, and you had an upper and a bottom deck, and you would literally run up to 1,000 patches or pieces of embroidery at a time. The larger the quarter, meaning how far the needles were spread out, the the less patches the machine would produce. But that was a very old machine, mechanical machine made of battleship cast iron. You'd take the fabric, you'd actually have to wax the fabric first on a big long table, and then you'd add buckram and pellon, and then you'd span it onto the machine, and you would run the first color all the way through like 5 or 6 rows, and then you'd bring the machine back up to the beginning and you'd run the second color. So it was pretty manual. Now the multi-head machine that you see there, that was one of the first Tajimas that we had. And keep in mind that when we first started transitioning from the Shifley to the Tajimas, our first Tajima machines were not tubular. They were flatbeds. And you can see here in the little slide, it's a flat table. It's not the little cylinder arm that's coming out. And that's because those machines were specifically for making patches for the most part. And we had 24 head machines with oversized sash frames, specifically because we were doing patches. Now, the other thing I did want to mention was in the early days, obviously those Shifley machines did not have trimmers. There were no trimmers on the machine. So you had to learn how to jump in and out of your designs in the proper sequence so that no objects crossed over any other objects, because then you would have threads that were trapped underneath of objects. So there was actually a lot more theory in digitizing or creating designs in those days for doing emblems, because you had no trimmers. Even on the Tajima machines originally, we had absolutely no trimmers on those, so we had to digitize designs based on the fact that there were no trimmers. And we actually called those trowel lines. And I'm going to show you a little example of that in a second coming up on my software. I did a few, I guess, months back maybe, we actually did a video where I found some really old designs from my archive. And I'm going to pull up one of those old designs that I probably digitized going back 20, 25 years maybe. And that was specifically for emblems, so you'll be able to see it. Now, I have a few samples of emblems that we've done for this. Now, I will let you know that if you sign up for this Patches Made Easy seminar, I'm going to be sharing kind of the old way we used to do it, but how we have modified it to the new way. And I'm going to give you some kind of like ideas of how you can do it differently, so it's completely DIY, completely just using the stuff you have on hand. But then I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different ideas and ways that you can speed this up for production. Emblems was a penny business when my grandparents did this, but it is a very profitable business because you don't necessarily have to carry a lot of inventory of actual, hats or golf shirts or t-shirts or jackets, because you can basically have finished emblems and put them on pretty much anything. So it really is a great startup, and emblems have become really popular. Patches have become very popular on all the Facebook groups. I'm seeing more and more patches and how to do patches, being done. And we are going to have very, very specific and specialized ways and design files that you are going to learn to use so you get professional results. Now, I do have probably 3 different ways that I'm going to show you within the webinar. This is one of the ways, and this is actually a design that I just did this morning. I did a bunch of designs this morning. So here is one of them right here. I did a John Deere's embroidery legacy design. This is one that I did actually at workshops the last couple of years. This webinar has been a couple of years in the making as far as, I guess, planning it is concerned. And there is a lot more happening behind the scenes so that we can actually make you really profitable with patches as well. But I then did this one here, and this one is a Patches Made Easy, just to show you that these are real, and I did do them this morning. Here is the John Deere's right here. I'm holding it in my hand. here is the one that you're seeing now, the Patches Made Easy, and they are perfect. They are flat, they're professional, they're backed, and I did them all myself on the machine this morning. And here is one where we show you that you can create your own embroidery legacy. So this is, you get to choose any colors you want, any borders you want, all that good stuff. This is one where I just did it. And here's the beauty of it. You can insert whatever lettering or designs you want. Now, yes, you do need to have, obviously, design files. And you need to have some type of software that you can actually type in lettering. So I'm going to give you the template of the shape of the patch and how you can finish it nicely. But you will need to insert lettering in whatever software program you actually own. It doesn't have to be Hatch. If you have Floriani or Stitch Artist or Dime or Palette or PE, Perla, any software you have has lettering built in, and any editing software on the market will allow you to merge files together. So here we've merged a couple of different, lettering and a design. It says Planning Your Embroidery Legacy. And then this one I did actually saying Building Your Embroidery Legacy, and I found a design. It's kind of funny because when I searched for all of these designs that I inserted, I digitized these little designs. They were PES files probably about 20 years ago, and it's kind of ironic that they're coming in handy now. And then this is going to be the fun part. You get to enjoy your embroidery legacy. So I put a nice little happy face on there. And then just so that I could kind of show you what is possible for customizing, I did kind of a biker patch, but I did it with our family crest. And this is actually right here. And let's see if I can bring this up real quick. So I digitized this morning very quickly. That's our little deer with the JD in there. And I have the EL in kind of the biker font for Embroidery Legacy. And that was really quick. I mean, it took me like 10 minutes to digitize the deer, and I just dropped in the keyboard lettering and it was done. Now, the reason why that deer is kind of special, it does have the JD, and all three of I guess, does Beth have that as well, or is it just the boys? Just the boys. Okay, it's just the boys because all of our kids are in the business, but Jesse, James, and myself, we all have JDs. Jesse Deere, James Deere, and John Deere. So we all have matching tattoos. And Jennifer Deere. Beth is the odd one out. But anyways, we do have matching tattoos that actually have that deer on it. So that's why that one's kind of special for us. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly just an old design that I digitized a long, long time ago, and it'll give you an idea. Let me just switch the camera over here, and let's go back over here. You might hear me a little bit clearer now, and I got to get that mic thing worked out. No idea why that did not work today, but my apologies. And you know what I should do, Jennifer, to make everything right? I'm going to give away a free seat to the Patches Made Easy webinar. So if you do want to type in the word free right now, then Jennifer will actually, announce somebody randomly at some point during the end of this session. Okay, is that good? You're looking for the word free, Jennifer. Right. Okay, so she's going to do that. And if there are any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer those as well. I'm just going to share my screen here and see if I can call up Hatch. Now, this is a design that I digitized a long, long time ago, and it's kind of a cool design. It's enjoy what God made you, which I think we all should do every day that we are blessed to be alive. But this, you'll see that this was for a emblem, and it was actually digitized for a marrow border around the edge. That's why there's that zigzag, because there is something called a marrow machine, which does that professional edge border around there. And I'm going to show you how you can kind of do a simulated marrow, and I'm going to be showing examples in the Patches Made Easy webinar of how you can actually do marrowed patches. So we have a couple options that are going to be available, but you'll notice at the top right here there is a line, and at the bottom there is a line as well. And I'm going to turn off the True View really quickly. And if you also remember, I said, and let me see if I can just come here and hold on a sec. I'm going to try to give myself a spotlight so that we can see what's going on. So hopefully you see that now. So here I told you that when you digitize designs in the old days, you didn't have trimmers. And you'll notice that there is that line right across the top and the bottom here. So there's the line and the one across the bottom. Those are actually called trowel lines. And when I turn off the true view, you see these staggered lines running down. Some of them go up straight and some of them go on an angle. And the reason why they're there is because if I were jumping into an object inside of the actual emblem, I'd want to make sure that I always sort of went from the outside in and completed objects and made sure that I never crossed over afterwards. I wouldn't want to digitize the word God first and then do the made you, because then I would have a thread trapped underneath of the word made, and you'd have to pick it out and it would take a long time. So if you see this line, it goes down from the top to here, but then it goes over and it comes back again. And you'll see that that happens on all of the inputs on the objects as it goes over and back. Here it goes up, over, and back again. And what that's doing is that is actually creating slack on the thread. Because if you take a thread and you pull it straight up and you start to embroider right away, it's going to have too much tension drawn on the thread and you could get potential thread breaks. So we would actually take that thread, move it out, and then move it over a little bit more to create a bit of slack, and then we would start stitching. And that's kind of like, just it's almost common sense, but you'd want to make sure that you didn't just jump into areas. When you finished an object and you went up, we would go straight up, we would go over, and then we'd come back again and tie in. Again, we'd go up to create slack and over to create more slack, and then we'd go back to loosen the thread, tie back in, and continue on. Now, you do not have to worry about this type of thing. If we look at how this is going to actually run, let's just go right to the beginning here. We'll go by objects. I'm going to go right back to the beginning of the design if I can. And let's see here. Yeah, let's go right here to the beginning of the design. There we go. So now I'm going to go forward by object. And if you look at this, it's going to go forward by object. And if I actually go here, you're going to see that it's doing this one first, then this part, and then it's jumping out and doing this part because they're connected. Then it'll do this part. I was able to do all of that in one piece. And there is actually no jumps and trims. I mean, you can see how production friendly this is because I made sure that I basically traveled between everything in this entire area to minimize jumps and trims. And that really is the key when you were digitizing in the old days. If you did take any of our, I guess education, we recently did a how to make money webinar, and I talked about jumps and trims and how much they actually cost you when you're actually running an embroidery business, because every time your machine trims, it actually slows the machine down. And even way back then, when we were using machines that didn't have trimmers on them, we still had to make sure that we followed those same principles, because those machines actually worked on slow speed and fast speed as they moved forward through a design. So you wouldn't want it to run on a slower speed, and they jumped needles out and needles in. Those were the commands. All of the theory in your modern software and your machines still comes to from those foundational commands of jumps, trims, color changes, X's and Y's, and how the actual machine moves through a design. So it is kind of cool because we're talking kind of historically, this industry has changed a lot with technology, but the foundation of still creating good designs and designs that are profitable is the same then as it is now. So it's kind of cool. Jennifer, you have a question?
Yes, 2 questions.
Yep.
Do you still need to create the slack when creating patch objects, Brendy's asking?
Do you still need to create the slack when you are actually doing this type of objects? Absolutely not. I'm just giving you an example of how things were done in the old days, okay? So you do not need to, if your machine has trimmers, you would not want to turn off your trimmers, but you still would want to reduce the amount of trims that you have in the design. Okay, next question.
Next question. If anybody else has questions, feel free to post them now. Somebody's asking.
Post questions now. Just remember, Jen, that nobody's hearing you because I'm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's only. Yeah. This is the only mic that's working. No.
Okay. If you're going to cover Velcro on back patches.
Okay. If you're going to do Velcro, as far as the process of putting it on the patch, there is different suppliers for the Velcro, and They don't actually, Velcro is a trade, or I guess a trademark name. So there is hook and latch, I guess they have it, and you can buy sheets of it. And within the process that I'm going to be showing you within the webinar, there is a step where you could secure the Velcro on as part of the sewing. So that would kind of, it's an extra step, but I know Velcro is kind of a thing that a lot of people use. I made sure that I did all of these patches. I actually did them and I finished them at the back. I actually heat sealed on a laminate. So these actually can be heat pressed onto a baseball hat, but it makes the back look really, really nice. There's actually 4 different pieces of materials within making that patch to get it really nice and stiff and like a real emblem should be. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, Jennifer's just looking for another couple of questions.
Sorry, everybody's saying they can't hear me. So.
They can hear you?
Yes.
How can I hear you? Your mic's off.
Apparently not.
Okay, well, I'm turning your mic back on. Okay, go ahead.
They're curious about copyright infringements with creating patches and emblems.
Copyright infringements, you definitely want to be very careful about what you duplicate, whether it is a patch or whether it is anything embroidered. We actually did cover a lot of that in our How to Make Money with Embroidery webinar. You need to have permission to embroider or digitize designs. You just can't, even if somebody owns a GM dealership, that person who owns the dealership cannot authorize or give you right to reproduce the GM logo. Only GM can do that. So please be very careful about what you reproduce with anything to do with embroidery.
Betty is asking, what kind of fabric is best for a patch?
There is different types of twills in the seminar that we're going to be doing for on the 16th of January. I will be personally suggesting using a poly twill. And that is what historically we used after, I guess, a certain period of time. So poly twills, they don't bleed or anything like that. Yep.
Linda's asking, where is the best place to look for a heat seal?
Where is the best place to look for a heat seal machine? Well, if you can hold tight, we have, I guess, relationships with some of reputable companies in the industry. ZSK, the German machine manufacturer, is one of them. You obviously, if you're not interested in a commercial machine, you'd never buy one. But if you want a great commercial machine, that is the world's best. We also are just getting, I guess, associated with another company that is known for producing some of the best heat presses. So we are not going to be selling them, but if you are interested, we'll be showing them in the webinar. And if you did want them, you could get them and choose us as an affiliate. So that will be in the webinar as well. But you can go onto Amazon, and there's a gazillion of them out there. But keep in mind, just like embroidery machines, all equipment isn't necessarily made equal. You can have a quality brand of equipment that will last you decades and keep consistent heat and heat from the bottom and the top plates and all that good stuff. Or you can buy something that could potentially cause problems.
Doug is asking, how do you trim around the patch without cutting the outer thread?
How do you trim that? I will definitely be. I got to be careful in this because I don't want to share a lot of the information that we're going to be giving in the webinar. But I do have little tricks up my sleeve. I'm going to be showing some ways that I've found to produce patches quickly, meaning that their speed is of an essence, coming from a manufacturer's background, and giving quality. So the way or the steps that we're going to show you to do this will pretty much guarantee quality results. And there's no burning or anything like that. Yes.
Do you need to have your software going with the webinar?
No, you do not need to have any software going with the webinar. We are including the stitch files so that the round, we have 3 different shapes of round emblems. So those will be included. So after the webinar, you can get, to making patches right away. As I mentioned, I'll be giving sort of a DIY patch making, that knowing that you might not go out and buy the specialty stabilizers or the exact twill that I suggest. You can get it if you want, but If you just have a regular, piece of fabric and you want to back it with no-show mesh and use a couple of other things that I tell you, you'll be able to make a pretty good quality patch, but I will be showing sort of different levels of, I guess, professionalism.
Okay. Will anything be ironed on?
Yes, there is an option to iron on the backing, and I will suggest a certain backing which we are using, and we are also have become an affiliate of a manufacturer that's well known in the industry. So you could get it from various places. We will be offering it within the webinar as well. This is a heat seal backing, which does, after you finish your patch, it gives you that perfect look on the back, so you don't see any of the little straggly threads. It's just perfect. And it is now an item that you can heat seal, and you can heat seal it with an actual press, 320 to 50 degrees between 10 to 15 seconds. Or your iron, with a household iron, you can do it as well on the highest heat, which would be linen. And basically you want to heat it until you smell smoke. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. No discoloring, no, okay. So next, any other questions?
I'm a little delayed on what's coming up here. Can you review the webinar after the original date? And I believe it's a 14-day replay.
Yes, we do have, you'll be able to review the webinar, or if you can't actually make the webinar because life got in the way and something came up, you can rewatch it for 14 days afterwards. So there's replay for 14 days. Keep in mind that if you do with the little kit that we're going to give you to make the round patches, there will be videos associated with the tutorials and the steps for that. That will be yours to view over and over again. So that's not a problem. Yeah. Awesome. We're pretty much tied up. Okay, so anyways, it's going to be lots and lots of fun. We have put probably about a year of development into this. There is very, I guess, a lot of different layers of what we're doing with this. It's not just necessarily one way to make patches. It's I guess, a bunch of different ways and different options so that you can do this as professionally or as efficiently as you possibly want. Because some people, as I mentioned, will just want to make a patch to give to somebody because they like them. It's more of a hobby. But if you want to make patches and mass produce 100 of these, then you'll want to make sure you have everything down packed so that you're in production mode and you get as much return from your investment. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing with that. Was there anything else, Jennifer?
I see one more question.
Sure.
That's just popped up, and then we'll, I guess, grab a winner.
Sure.
Mary Ann was asking, could the patches be back somehow to make it into a key fob?
Could the patches be back to make it into a key fob? Well, key fobs are a little bit more specific, with how they are actually sewn together. And there is usually a piece of marine vinyl, and then you do it so that it basically goes over and covers itself with another piece of marine vinyl, so you don't see the straggly bits on the back. So yes, it is possible, but it won't be the identical process. And to be perfectly honest, to embroider the nice finished edge around here, if you're not using a Marrow machine, and I will explain what a Marrow machine is at the actual webinar, but if you're doing this with the embroidery machine and replicating this look, it's going to be a lot of stitches to create that. And if you're going to be doing that same thing around an entire key fob, I would suggest to do it with marine vinyl, which gives you a nice clean cut, as opposed to trying to do a marrowed simulated or satin stitch edge.
Okay, and I guess no supplies are needed on hand when the webinar is happening?
No supplies will be needed on hand. Basically, what I'm going to be doing, the hour and a half that we have the webinar, is showing you 4 different ideas and ways that you can create patches, and with 3 of which will be with the design files that we include. So you can choose which way you want to do it. And I'm guessing that most of you will have products on hand that you probably already own that you could make a patch right away.
People are asking about kits being mailed.
There will be some, there is no kits that you need. I mean, we're giving you the design files to actually create the patches yourself. There will be some other options where if you do want to have some kits sent to you for different results, then we have put that all together as well. But I don't want to tell too many of the little surprises before they happen, because this is going to be lots and lots of fun. So anyways, that is the Patches Made Easy. We are probably going to be filled up in the next couple days if things go the way they are. I'll have to ask Jesse what will happen then, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And with regards to the, I guess, way that you are going to make the patches, you do not need a specific brand of machine. Any machine that embroiders is fine. As I mentioned, it's kind of necessary that you have the ability to merge embroidery files together, because we'll give you the embroidery file for the outer edge or the shape. But if you want to put, whether it be a deer head or a little happy face, you'll need to merge that with any lettering that you want within whatever software. Some machines these days, some of you have machines that have editing capability built in. You can do lettering right on your machines. That might work. And a lot of them you can merge files as well. Now, one other little announcement that I have, and then Jennifer is going to give me the person who won, but if you did get a chance to make it to our How to Make Money with Embroidery webinar, give me a little thumbs up. We actually did that last month, I believe, wasn't it, Jennifer? We did a How to Make Money with Embroidery. It was a full 8-hour day. We had six speakers, myself being one of them, but we had Jennifer Cox, and we had Frank, and we had Eleanor, and we had Jesse and James, and we covered a ton of, I guess, subjects all geared to which machines to look at or purchase to become profitable, all the way through workflow, finding your niche market, and a whole bunch of other keys for success. So that was a live presentation that we did. I did mention to people that were at that webinar that if you are there live, you will get the video afterwards free of cost. And it will be something that you can rewatch over and over again at your convenience. So we took that 8 hours of content, and James did his magic and got it down into 6.5 hours of education that is all broken up into individual segments. And there is a 33-page color PDF printable workbook that goes along with it. And we are releasing that, I think, as of today. So if you couldn't make the How to Make Money with Embroidery webinar, we do actually have that for 40% off, and James will probably put up the links. Again, it is one of our series that will not expire. It's not a webinar that expires after a period of time. This is a paid class that you will have in your classroom, and you can watch it at your convenience, and you can watch it over and over again because you have the license for it, and you can print off the workbook as well. So that is something else. And we had great reviews from people. If there was anybody at that one, give us some thumbs up or some hearts. It was over 100 years of combined knowledge in the industry that we basically shared with everybody that was there. And I have gotten some personal feedback from people that the information that we gave did really help them not only get started, but they were currently business owners with embroidery, and we gave them some tips and tricks that helped to increase productivity as well. So that's something else that we had there. So Jennifer, dear, do we have it? And I really apologize for my mic not working at the beginning. That's one of the worst possible things that can happen, because I was right in the groove. Jennifer, actually, it's kind of good because Jennifer doesn't have a mic right now. And it's kind of funny because I keep saying to people, this is the longest we've ever been together in like 25 years. And it is, I say, oh, you know, it's like 8 months I've been here. And then Jennifer will say, well, actually, it's like 9 months, 16 days, 12 hours, and 13 seconds. So I don't know how to read that, but she's smiling over there. So, but we're having fun, aren't we, Jen?
Always.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Jennifer. Is there a name?
Yes, the winner is Belle Atkins. Congratulations, Belle.
So Belle Atkins, you got a seat to the Patches Made Easy webinar. If you're already signed up, then we're going to give you an extra seat and you can invite one of your embroidery friends, and that's what you can give them for Christmas. So that will actually be great, but I think that's pretty much it. Was there anything else, Mrs. Deere? Any more questions?
I am trying to get, again, I'm delayed what I see coming through. I think pretty much, Carol's asking if you purchase the webinar, do you get to keep the files?
Yes, for the Patches Made Easy, if you are partaking in the webinar, the entire length of the webinar, you can view for 14 days afterwards. The patches files that you get with it when you sign up, those are yours indefinitely. You can use them forever. And we will make sure that we give you tutorials and videos that go along with those files that we gave you. And those will not expire, so that you can, basically do them as many times as you want. And there is no limitation on how many times you can use the files to create your own patches. So I think that's pretty much it. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys had a good time. I appreciate your joining me. I apologize for this mix-up, Jennifer, or I guess James and I tomorrow will do a little dry run and try to figure out what went wrong with my equipment. So
mine was fine, so I'm good.
Was yours fine? I don't think so. Okay. Anyways, well, here I'm going to finish off with this. Okay, this is where I get to have some fun. But again, this could backfire on me in a huge way. I mentioned that we've been together for a while now, and I start out my day pretty much the same way. I actually get up and I usually do my devotional first thing, and then I go for a run, and then I think about business, and I just that's how I start my day. And my devotional the last little while has been going through the book of Proverbs. And I'm not getting religious here in any way, shape, or form, but it's a really cool book about wisdom. So I was into, I think, like chapter 20 around there, and I saw this proverb, and it was something like, better a man live on the corner of the roof of his house than live with a bickering wife. Now, I just want to point out, my wife is not a bickering wife. So I am not saying that in any way, shape, or form. So please, let's just clarify that right now. But when a guy, when a guy reads a verse like that, it's like finding gold. I mean, it's just like, sometime you're going to save that and you're going to use it at the opportune moment in jest. Well, I did come across that moment where I was sort of shared that verse. And of course, my wife, she says something like, well, at least you're allowed on the house. So that's sort of, and I don't think Solomon could even argue with that wisdom. So we all know our place. So anyways, guys, I hope you have a blessed evening, and I hope you all stay safe. We really appreciate you guys. And what was that, Jennifer?
Merry Christmas.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll probably do another Facebook Live maybe right before, but if we don't connect, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We just wish everybody a very safe holiday. I know we're all still, in the midst of this pandemic, and I know that this too will pass. So I just have faith in that. So anyways, guys, I thank you for joining me. And if you're interested in any of the stuff, the Patches webinar or the How to Make Money, just click on the links that James is putting in there, and we appreciate you.
And if we've missed any questions, we'll try to go back and answer those.
Yeah, if we've missed any questions, we'll try to hit those back. And again, I apologize for my mic not working. So thank you, guys.